Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about the topic of sowing and reaping. Cause and effect. I when I teach SAT, I explain to students that a function is merely a cause and effect. The output depends on the input. This is a universal law that we all have to live by. I mean, this is not really a choice, but some people mistake this as if there were a choice. Some people don't want to sow. They don't want to do the tilling the soil and sowing and doing all the hard work, getting in the dirt, but they want the results. They want the results, but they're not willing to do what it takes. But I think that it's a little bit more involved than working hard. Working hard you could be sweating, and whether this is metaphoric, or literal, you're sweating and you're working very hard and doing a lot of things. But sometimes you wonder, how come I didn't get the results that I wanted? Because a lot of times it's not just about working hard. I've heard a lot of people say this. I worked so hard in my life. I've done this and I work for it. And there's no doubt about that. They have worked very, very hard. And some people have overworked themselves. But sadly, sometimes they don't get the result that they expected. I think in the majority of cases, this happens because they worked hard, yes, but perhaps they didn't work hard on the right things. This is so important. There's two aspects of it. It's not just sowing, it's sowing the right things. It's not just working hard, it's working hard the right way. It's working hard on the right things. If you sow apple seeds, you don't expect to get a pear tree, or you don't expect to get pumpkins. If you sow apple seeds, you would expect to get apples. If you sow pumpkin seeds, you would expect to get pumpkins. But for some reason, we sow apple seeds and expect to get an oak tree or something. We sow pumpkin seeds and expect to get a redwood tree. But it doesn't happen like that. We have to be very honest, and we have to understand very well what we are sowing and what results that will get us. I think a lot of people underestimate, if I want to get whatever result this is, what steps do I have to take to get there? I think a lot of people don't understand what the steps are and what steps they need to take. Sometimes they're overwhelmed. Oh, I have this thing here, but I don't know what it takes. Okay, just for example, I've talked to friends who say, someday I want to own my own business. I say, oh, okay, like, when do you think you want to? See, the questions that come like that come out whenever I hear something like that, immediately I'm thinking, like, when? Like, what's the timeline? Like, when are you thinking? Oh, I don't know. I mean, someday I hope I do. So when I hear an answer like that, I know they're not serious. Because I would expect, if I said someday I want to own my own business, oh, like, what kind of time frame are you thinking? I don't know, 15 years. Let's say I say 15 years, 10 to 15 years, whatever it is. At least that's some sort of a concrete time frame, 10 to 15 years. Oh, wow, okay, 10 to 15 years. And why do you say 10 to 15 years? Because I think it's going to cost a lot of money. Well, how much money do you think it'll cost to start that business? And again, if someone says, I'm not really sure, they haven't thought through it. And this is why they're not meeting their goals. Answers should be very concrete. They have to be based on good assumptions, on good research. So if someone says, I want to start my own business, oh, when? Maybe 10 to 15 years. Oh, why? Because it's going to cost a lot of money. Like, how much money? 350,000. 350,000. How much do you have now? I have zero. Okay, that's not good. But if someone says, well, I got 200 saved up. Okay, that's pretty good. So you expect, at the rate I'm going, I expect to have another 100,000 in 10 years. I'm just making these things up. But let's say if someone has said that, I would feel much better about that person getting there. It's going to take me about 10 years. It's going to take me 350,000. I already have 200. I already have 250. I have 100 more to go. And at this rate, I think that I can get there in 10 years. What would you need? Well, I'm thinking about this location. I've looked at 3 different locations, and I think these are the things that I'm going to need. And I think these are the number of people, and this is how I'm thinking about hiring them. This is how I'm thinking about advertising or branding it and marketing it. This is how I'm thinking about, doing the service. And these are the kinds of technologies that I think I'll need. These are the kinds of resources I think I need. I mean, this person has thought through and is continuing to look into and constantly adjusting those requirements to make sure that in 10 years he meets that goal. And if that's the case, I would say, wow, I'd be impressed. I mean, you got a lot of these details, you've looked into it, and you're sowing the right thing. You're working hard and you're sowing and you're learning and you're constantly adjusting so that you get there, But if not, if it's just, well, someday maybe it'll happen. I hope I do. I mean, it'd be great to have my own business when I retire. That person, I can tell you, is not going anywhere. That's just not going anywhere. There's no details there, right? So I always say to people, where are the details? Where are all the details? I don't know, okay? And this is the same thing in academics as well. When I'm teaching students, I have one student who recently just started with me, literally yesterday. She had gone, she's out of state. She went to a place like a prep center for like a year and a half, something like that. And every Saturday they would have her take a full length test, 3 hours, just sitting down taking the test. And on Sundays they would come and they would go over all the problems. And she says, but it didn't help me at all. And I said, why did it not help you? Because they went over all the problems. They would go over problems and say, okay, students, do you have any questions? What kind of questions are the students going to have? Like, yeah, can you teach me something so I can get a better score? That kind of question. I mean, what kind of questions would a student have learning SAT when they should be taught what to look for. They should be taught how to raise their scores. And she says they just went over broadly. We'd go over a lot of things. We took a lot of tests. We sit down for 3 hours and then we go over all the problems, every problem in every section of the test. But didn't get anywhere. Score's not going up. So her mom had basically given up. And somehow they heard about me and I said, look, everything has to be very specific. If it's not specific, it's nothing. It's just like saying when someone says, oh, in 10 years, I want to start my own business. Really? Like, when? How much? Like, what? I haven't thought of it. I don't know. I just hope I do. That's the same thing. When people teach like that, it's like, oh, let's just take tests, guys. Okay, everybody take a test. We're just going to go over the problems. And you do this until your face is blue. Still haven't learned anything new. Still don't know how to analyze a problem. Still don't know how to pick the right choice. And still don't understand how to set the problems up. What to look for. Because nobody has taught details. It's all in the details. And if you're not teaching details, if you're not thinking details, if you're not researching details, if you're not planning out in detail and have the right data and acting on the right data every day, you're not likely to reach your goal, whatever that goal is. And this is very difficult for me to watch, especially when it comes to friends or family and people that I care about. Because I know that they don't like this situation. They want to get to this situation. But the thing that I see them doing is just not going to get them there. It's clear as day to me that they're not going to get there, but somehow they're hoping in their mind that they're going to get there. And I always say hope is not a plan. Hope is not a plan. Hope is just a dream. It's just, I hope I get there. I think I'll get there. I'm praying that I'll get there. I have this dream that I have for 20 years that I'll get there. It doesn't matter if you're not doing and you don't know all the specific details about what steps you need to take every day to get there, you're not going to get there. Okay, it's just not going to work. You have to sow, and you have to sow the right things in order to reap a harvest. It's just the way it is. And I think people underestimate or they don't understand what details are needed and how much work is needed to reach these goals. And so I think that is a big underestimation that people do, and that's why the vast majority of people, when they make these goals, they hope and they wish that it would happen. But it doesn't happen. And it's very sad because 10 years later, you'll talk to them. Yeah, man, I don't know. I kind of gave up on that. It didn't work out for me. It's not that it didn't work out for them. They never really got into it in the first place when I look at it. They never put in the time. They never put in the research. They never put in the planning. They never looked at all the details about what it would take. They didn't get the right advice. They didn't get the right information. They didn't do what it took. They didn't sacrifice anything. They never really put in what was needed to make that. And yet they thought, well, I'm just unlucky. And I always hear people say things like that. it's not so much luck or not being lucky. It is how well have you planned it out, and how realistic is that plan, and how hard are you willing to work in performing those actions every day to reach your goal, whatever that goal is. And I'm just speaking very broadly here because it could be anything. It could be a goal in your health, it could be in your relationship, it can be in your finances, it can be in your academics, it can be in your career, it can be anything in your faith, whatever it is. Okay, but you have to know the right methods, and sometimes just knowing the right methods takes a long time. And it's not just, oh, everybody says this is the right way. It's not what everybody says. It's really knowing what the right methods are to reach that thing, whatever you're trying to reach. And so I would encourage you, there's two things. It's not just sowing, it's sowing the right things. It's not just working hard, it's working hard on the right things. It's not just a lot of activity. There could be a lot of activity, but no achievement, because you're working hard, but you're working hard on the wrong things. Okay. I've seen people in business, they work 12, 13, 14, 16 hours a day, but their business doesn't grow. They're working so hard, even putting their lives at risk sometimes, and their health at risk, and yet their business goes under. And it's sad because they'll say, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to work any harder. And I always feel like saying to those people, you work plenty hard. You didn't need to work any harder. You just didn't work on the right things. And how sad it is when people work so hard, but they didn't work on the right things. So at the end, they lose their health, they lose their money, they lose so many things. They lose their energy, their motivation, because they didn't reach and didn't even get close to reaching the goals that they had set. And this is sad the older people get. So whatever age you are, whatever goals you have, please remember, it's not just working hard. Make sure you're working on the right things, and make sure you do the research, and make sure that you talk to people who have actually done it, to learn from people, be humble, and to learn from all kinds of people, and to make sure that you're doing the right things, and you're working hard, and you're getting closer and closer to your goal. And this is so important. I just wanted to put this out there. I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, as always, please just put them in the comments below, and I will read them and I will reply. But I appreciate you watching the video up to this point. And until my next video, I hope that you stay well.